overtime win against Minnesota, featuring this starting lineup courtesy of Buffalo Wild Wings. Same starting five for all 20 games this season. The Badgers coming in with a record of 16-3 and 5-1 in conference play. And for Patrick Chambers and the Penn State Nittany Lions, they've got the terrific freshman Tony Carr. Shep Gardner figures to run the point a little bit more often here tonight. Lamar Stevens, Tony Carr's high school teammate. This is a program on the rise, the top 15 recruiting class, and a team that comes in set 3-4 in conference play. And there you see Patrick Chambers in his 6th season, and this by far is his best team that he has had at State College.
And a very young team, as we talked about at the top. The second youngest team in the Big Ten next to Iowa. And has one of, arguably, the people who follow recruiting real closely say this is the best recruiting class, maybe in program history, certainly in his 6th season. So he's heavily relying on freshmen. Time to go to school. You're going to try to beat the Badgers in the Kohl Center. A lot of teams with a lot more experience have a hard time doing that. This is going to be fun.
Ethan Happ will jump in with Julian Moore, who is back into the starting lineup tonight for Penn State. We'll get into that story as we continue. It is controlled by Happ, the co-player of the week in the Big Ten. And Wisconsin will have the first possession. Great to have you with us tonight. Brian Anderson with Seth Davis, our terrific BTN crew from Madison. Maryland taking down Rutgers earlier today in the first of our doubleheaders. So the Badgers trying to keep pace with a win here tonight. And a foul right away. And one of the big stories for Patrick Chambers at Penn State, Ethan Happ, Nigel Hayes getting his bigs into foul trouble, and we've got one already.
And this is what Ethan Happ did at Minnesota. Almost single-handedly fouled out the Gopher center, Reggie Lynch. And I've long felt that we should have in our box scores here in America a category for fouls drawn. I think it's an important part of the game. They do it in FIBA. And if we had it, Ethan Happ would be one of the leaders in the country. So that's going to be a big-time problem for Penn State, and we're not even 30 seconds into the game. He's not a great free throw shooter, though. That's one area of his game that he needs to tighten up. 56% on the year. Always
good to see the first two go down if you're Ethan Happ. So Julian Moore in the starting lineup here tonight. There's a pick by Hayes. Penn State retains possession. That means Mike Watkins is coming off the bench here tonight. It has to do with foul trouble as Reeves, the lefty, misfires on his first try. So talk to us through that decision by Chambers to make the change. This has been kind of a rotating front court for Penn State.
Well, they've been toggling back and forth between Watkins and Moore all season long. Started off with Mike Watkins. He's a redshirt freshman. He's real long, good rebounder, good shot blocker, but he tends to get into foul trouble, and that's why I think it's a better role for him to come off the bench.
Watkins, a very raw basketball player, has only been playing organized basketball for 5 years, believe it or not. Didn't begin playing organized ball until his sophomore year. He is a physical specimen. He's fun to watch. He's learning the game, and it'll be interesting tonight to see how he holds up.
He's a good offensive rebounder. He's not real skilled offensively as well. So Moore has that on him, I think.
Stevens to his high school teammate Carr, who buries the three. Tony Carr, he shoots it at 36% from behind the arc. He averages about 11.5 a game. Shep Gardner is the Nittany Lions leading scorer. And Coach Chambers mentioning to us earlier that he needs a lot more out of Garner, and we might see Garner run the point a little more tonight as Koenig answers in a big three to help Wisconsin beat Minnesota. Now a turnover. Carr wasn't expecting to pass, and a giveaway for Penn State. Vito Brown working on Moore. Brown backs his way in, playing with an injured right knee, gets the bounce. And the Badgers steal a possession.
You see the lower body strength that Julian Moore is going to have a hard time with. And Tony Carr is going to have to be guarded on one end by Zach Showalter, and he's guarding Bronson Koenig on the other. So that's quite the assignment for the young freshman.
Well, Mike Watkins has already moved into the scoring position at the table to check into this game. Little turnaround by Stevens, and it's Happ with a rebound. And Happ wants to push it, handling the ball as well. He kicks it. Showalter passes up the three. And Wisconsin will fire with Vito Brown. Rattles in and out. Penn State on the move. Carr taking it all the way and finishes at the rim.
And that's going to be a high priority for the Nittany Lions tonight, Brian, is trying to get as many transition opportunities as they can. Wisconsin's not going to give you many, but they are not easy to play against in the half court. And Penn State likes to run. That's been by design for Chambers. We talked about this recruiting class. Penn State's a much more quick and athletic team than they've been in past years. They're 33rd in the country in tempo. But it's not easy to speed up the Badgers, especially here.
Gonna have a foul on Wisconsin. Vito Brown with the foul. Fighting for the rebound as Watkins ready to check in. And he will enter the game with Peyton Banks. So you get a presence inside. You get a three-point shooter in if you're Penn State. 4 double-doubles this year. This guy can score. He can rebound. He's the machine inside. But as you mentioned, Seth, he's a raw player, but could be an impact player in the Big Ten as he progresses through his career. He's just a redshirt freshman. Poked away by Iverson. Happ on the floor with it, and a held ball. Possession arrow belongs to Penn State. And Happ already has his fingerprints all over this game.
Discussion about whose ball it is down there, but you know, Ethan Happ, you can see his confidence building. That was the decision whether to reset the shot clock. And that's been an issue for Ethan Happ. You know, he's not a junkyard dog. We saw them practicing that baseline out of bounds in practice today. It works much better when there's no defense. Trust me, they were dunking it.
When the managers are on the floor as your defenders, right, as opposed to Ethan Happ, those usually end up in dunks. Not this time. Inside to Happ. He and Koenig with the two-man game. Hayes pops free. Happ on the move, and Happ scores at the basket.
Goes right at Watkins. Ethan Happ does all of his work by the basket. 97% of his shot attempts this season have been either at the basket or post-ups.
A little mid-range jumper by Terrence Samuel is good. Samuel transfer from UConn. With a junior, one of the few upperclassmen for Penn State. Penn State has no seniors on their roster. That'll take us to the first timeout. Underway in Madison, the Badgers up 9-7 over the upstart Nittany Lions, and Happ active early. Is off the rim. Dunks, layups, trash buckets.
Well, he's 6'10", 232. He's probably 6'9". He's not a freak. He's not going to have incredible explosiveness. Bronson Koenig with that nice three-point stroke. Good to see him get his second of the night. But, you know, Ethan Happ, he does it with angles. And he does it with ambidexterity. And he does it with good shot selection. For a guy of his physical makeup to be that effective close to the rim constantly is just extraordinarily impressive. And, again, it's only part of what he does to impact the game.
Happ will get his first breather of the game. Tony Carr is immediately back in the game. This is the moment that we've been expecting for this game. Shep Garner getting a chance to run the point again. He was the point guard last year, the primary point guard, one of the captains. And right away, the first possession, he handles the ball. He turns it over.
Well, he has played pretty poorly in Big Ten plays. The team's leading scorer. You see Carr here with the rip.
And Carr goes behind the back, going to the hole. Oh, and it is swatted away by Iverson, who comes down on Jordan Hill. Tony Carr is going to be called for an offensive foul.
Wow. Yeah, pretty good call. The defender was there, Jordan Hill. And that's, you know, you hate to always say, well, freshman mistake, but it's the kind of play you can make in an AAU tournament in Augusta, Georgia, a lot easier than you can do against a mature defensive team. You like his aggressiveness, made the good steal, but to go 1-on-3, not the best decision there for the freshman.
Gives Wisconsin another possession. Turnovers a story early. Hayes can't finish. Rebound pulled down by Illa Kanan, who gets some early run tonight. Now Hayes lets it go from three and buries. So Koenig and Hayes hit threes on back-to-back possessions. And Wisconsin quickly up 15-7. We're just getting underway here. And the doubleheader on BTN tonight. Three-point try, no good from Banks. He is their best three-point weapon, shooting it at 39%. Oh, and a turnover. Bad pass by Iverson. And a foul on Iverson on the other end. That'll send Carr to the line.
Wisconsin uncharacteristically careless with the ball tonight. The steal and the errant pass. A nice job getting back on transition defense. But if you're Penn State, you don't want this game getting away from you. I mean, you want to have contact all night. Wisconsin tends to help out opponents in that way because they don't push ahead with a ton of points, but they can hang a lot of points on you real quick if you're not careful.
4 turnovers already for Wisconsin. Penn State with 5. As Carr hits the first free throw. And Vito Brown checks in for Wisconsin. Trice enters as well. Kane will get his first break. Tony Carr, the freshman from Philly, part of this terrific recruiting class. And mining Roman Catholic high school in Philadelphia.
You see this 1-2-2 press from Penn State. They usually fall back into man-to-man. Not looking to trap so much as slow down the offense a little bit, make them work with a shorter clock.
Willikainen on the floor with Jordan Hill. Trice running the point. Garner on him. And now Brown springs free. 4-3. Vito Brown hits another.
Classic pick and pop, nothing complicated.
Shep Garner with a quick answer. Long-range three-pointer is good.
Ian Carr talking about how to defend that screen action on top. But it's good for him to see the ball go in, that's for sure.
Garner missed all 5 of his three-point attempts in Penn State's loss at Purdue. That was a blowout loss on Saturday. Purdue won that game 77-52.
They've got Terrence Samuel trying to guard Nigel Hayes there in the post. They missed the mismatch.
Trice, he'll rise up and fire and misses. And that's going to be Penn State ball.
You can see the miscommunication with Shep Garner leaving his man. Just not talking to each other on defense. Vito Brown battling that bulky knee. He hasn't been shooting it well either in Big Ten play. 6 for 20 coming in, so good for him to see the ball go in.
He's dropped a couple. Had that three-pointer. Vito Brown played in the Minnesota game, but limited minutes. A right knee injury that he suffered against Michigan. And he's had a few days off to recover, and that's done him wonders. Second game with a knee brace as they're going to get Trice on the foul. Brown just shooting 33% from behind the arc, which has become his specialty, and that's the brace he plays with. Going to have an offensive foul. So Penn State will turn it over again. And Garner will be hit for the foul. That's the 4th team foul already. We're 12.5 remaining in the first half. A pop to the chops.
I don't know what he did wrong there. It looked to me like he was in position. And that was Stevens on the setting the screen.
Here's Happ. He's free. Oh, what a block by Watkins. And it's out of bounds off of Wisconsin. Happ stepped on the baseline as Watkins denying Ethan Happ at the rim.
You saw why he's 12th in the country in blocking shots. I mean, this is excellent. Help side extension. Put that hand right on the leather.
6'9" with hops. Redshirt freshman Mike Watkins. And stepped on the sideline is the call. Peyton Banks trying to go to the basket. And already the 7th Penn State turnover.
It's a good thing Pat Chambers doesn't have hair. You get a great play. You get a great block, maybe a little bit of energy to come in the next possession, and you step out of bounds. I mean, it's not like Wisconsin made a great steal. Guy steps out of bounds.
Chambers is really working that bench right now. He knows that foul trouble is something he has to try to coach around, and Watkins has been in and out of this game. Any sign of fatigue or any matchup scenario that Chambers doesn't like, he's going to sit Watkins. So you make a great play on the rejection and right to the bench. Reeves got a hand on it. That'll stay in the possession of Wisconsin. Brings us to our second timeout. The swat, the denial from Watkins. Thumbs up from the head coach. locked it up against Minnesota.
And that was a big-time win. You see, Watkins was big in that game, 15 points, 15 rebounds. And this was the heartbreaker because Penn State really led it for most of the way. They were in control of the game. Indiana lost OG Anunoby right before halftime and didn't have Morgan in the game. And Pat Chambers really talked about how he thought that loss crushed Penn State's spirit and that maybe that carried over into the Purdue game in a way that he was not pleased with. It's not complicated. It's not X's and O's. It's not strategy. It's just flat out competing. And for these young freshmen, Brian, this is their first time through. And as the season goes on, you get physically worn down. You get mentally tired. And in this league, playing a team like Purdue on the road, if you're not ready to compete, you can get embarrassed real quick, and that's what happened. They're making shots tonight. He's got to be encouraged. They're making shots tonight, but you're on pace for 28 turnovers. You're not going to beat Wisconsin in here if you can't take better care of the ball.
Purdue a winner tonight on the road at Michigan State as Hayes hits 1 out of 2. And Reeves pulls down the board. You might have seen the number. Penn State has played a very difficult early Big Ten schedule. They've had the upper half of the Big Ten so far. If you're looking at strength of schedule, there's a lot to pull from. There's a lot of hope at Penn State right now as Banks misses again, his second miss, and the lefty Reeves gets it to rattle home.
I love Josh Reeves, man. He's a glue guy. First in the league, 9th in the country in steals, leads the team in assists and steals. It reminds me a lot of Mikal Bridges down at Villanova, which of course is where Pat Chambers used to coach.
There's Hayes all the way in.
Nice job avoiding the charge. Terrence Samuel stepped in. Samuel, the transfer from UConn, played on their championship team, was a pretty good reserve guard off the bench.
Couldn't fool the officials, though.
No. I love it when a player tries to draw a charge and nobody does anything and the other guy scores.
There's Stevens.
Not when tries to draw a charge, but he flops, and that's when justice is served.
Koenig back on the floor. The starters back in with the exception of Jordan Hill. And Hayes gets himself free, too strong, and there's Reeves flying high for the rebound. Reeves coming off a career-high 12 points against Purdue. Not thought to be a big scorer, but he made contributions in a blowout loss, and Penn State hoping that carries over. A little push runner by Samuel.
Well, Penn State's taking the first body blow. They got a little sloppy, and you look up and they're down 4. So they've done a nice job already responding to some early adversity.
Samuel gave Penn State some excellent minutes against Purdue. There's Hill. He'll let a 3 go. Comes up short. And it's poked free briefly by Reeves.
Wisconsin needs to get Ethan Happ some touches. Go to your horse.
Moore checks Happ underneath. Here's Koenig. 2-man game with Hayes.
Better communication with Penn State on those high screens.
Koenig gets a step and rises up in the lane and scores.
What a season he's having. The bigger the moment, the better he is. Hit 2 huge 3-pointers in overtime to win the game at Minnesota.
I talked to Koenig before the game. I said, you're back to your clutch 3-point shooting. He goes, finally get one to go in. I said, man, your standards are awful high, Bronson. This guy's made a living here at Wisconsin hitting key shots late.
He's shooting 61% from 3-point range in Big Ten play. Not going to do it much better than that. And there's your steals guy, Ethan Happ.
Shot clock was at 2, and Happ jumps the lane. And another turnover. And a foul on Penn State. Don't forget, this Saturday, it's a BTN special live from Madison Square Garden. 2 sports, 1 great venue. First, it's Wisconsin taking on Rutgers in hoops. And then later, Ohio State goes to the ice to face Wisconsin in hockey. Pre-game coverage starts at 11:30 Eastern. BTN to go. You'll be in New York.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll stop by Madison Square Garden. Happ working inside of Watkins. Deep in the lane. Gets the foul, and to the line he will go.
That's where you go, right to your horse. Perfect scenario.
First foul on Mike Watkins. So he and Moore, each with fouls. And it's never the first foul. It's that second foul that so often comes soon after the first foul that Chambers is concerned about as Moore sits. And Happ misses the free throw. He hit his first 2 tonight. Happ shoots it at just 52% from the free throw line.
Well, this is a clear Achilles heel, in my view, Brian, for Wisconsin, when you're talking about trying to be a Final Four team, a national championship team. Ethan Happ and Nigel Hayes combining to shoot 59% from the line, and they take by far the most free throws of anyone on this team. And when you get to a Sweet 16 Elite 8 situation, and it's just a possession or two, a free throw or two that decides the outcome, to have your two most prolific free throw shooters at 59% is a big-time problem.
Wisconsin working their offense inside to Happ. The pump fake, gets his own. Cleared away. That is Garner with the rebound. Penn State wants to push it a little bit. Wisconsin gets back well. Stevens on the take. Nothing there. Garner for 3. And Garner hits again. His second three-point make.
A terrific play by Lamar Stevens. You push the pace, you flatten the defense, and then you kick it out. And for Garner to come here and make a couple of three-pointers, I mean, that's just what the doctor ordered for Penn State. He's been miserable since they started Big Ten play.
Garner is their top scorer, averages just over 12 a game, but it's been down in conference play. Good setup for Happ, but Penn State closes it down and denies. 12 on the shot clock. Wisconsin ball. Shep Garner on the dish from the freshman Stevens. Hits his second three. Close to a national championship. By the way, our buddy, sports information director Patrick Herb, wrote a terrific book chronicling that season called Make 'Em Believe. And narrated by Matt LePay, our Big Ten elite, after the game. As Koenig coming out of the timeout, misses on the 3. And that's going the other way. That'll be Penn State ball, foul on Wisconsin. They're going to get Nigel Hayes, which will be his first foul. 4th team foul for the Badgers.
You know, Penn State was arguably the worst offensive team in the Big Ten. They're last in the league in field goal percentage, but they're 8 for 13, 3 for 6 from 3. So but for those 8 turnovers, they might be in the lead here. Ethan Happ been pretty mortal so far, 1 for 5 from the floor. He's had some good looks, hasn't been able to get them to go down.
Foul on the floor against Wisconsin and Showalter, which will be his first. Happ back on the bench.
I think Pat Chambers has to be quite pleased, given those 8 turnovers, to only be down 3. You don't often see teams come in here and shoot 62%. We'll see if it holds up.
They strip down the floor. Garner running the point with Carr off the ball, playing the 2. Penn State on a 12-5 run here. They were down 18-8. And the high school teammates connecting again, but no bucket for Stevens, and a foul on Reeves. So Reeves clears out Showalter. And that's going to be free throws now in the bonus for Wisconsin. A 1-and-1 coming.
That's another thing Wisconsin's been so good over the years, Brian. Defense without fouling. They've only got 5 team fouls.
Well, if you're looking at holes for Greg Gard, I think he would agree with this assessment. You mentioned the free throw shooting, but their depth as well. And they're still, I mean, here we are in late January in search mode, deep into their rotation. Greg Gard said he's very comfortable with probably through 7, maybe 6 in his rotations, but 8 and 9, player 8 and 9, that still has not been settled yet. Kanan, Charlie Thomas.
You know, Brian, most coaches, as the season goes on, you get to the tournament, they shorten their bench anyway. I mean, I think if you've got 7, to me, is the perfect number. And you think about Wisconsin, they've had the same starting 5 every game. So knock wood, I don't want to jinx anything. They haven't had any injuries. In fact, we were talking today, you know, Ken Pomeroy on his analytics website, he has this category called minutes continuity off of last year to this year, and Wisconsin ranks #1 in the country in minutes continuity. So you have a group that's been together for 2 years. All those reps, all those possessions, all those games, all those situations.
Vito Brown, whose start was questionable Saturday against Minnesota. Here's Garner again, and he hits again his 3rd three-pointer of the game. And when Penn State is calling on Shep Garner to give him more. Has responded early in this one.
You know, it happens often. A good shooter is in a slump. And when they break out of a slump, they really break out. He came out here, he made his first three, had a little pep in his step, a little bounce, get that swagger back. You can see the way he's walking, the way he's talking, stepping right into the shot. Plenty of room, in rhythm, splashes it. And he has really struggled. We mentioned he was 0 for 5 from 3 in that loss to Purdue. Pat Chambers moving him into the point situation to get the ball in his hands a little bit more. So Shep Garner tonight, a little bit of an awakening maybe.
Just got hit with the foul, Garner, which is his second. And it puts Vito Brown at the line. Change is coming for both teams. Happ back into the game. Iverson will sit, and Garner will sit with 2 fouls, probably seeing the last of him. And Vito Brown hits both free throws. So back to Carr, the true freshman, to run the point. Five and a half remaining in the first half. Badgers were up 10, 18-8. Penn State has fought their way back. Watkins a little turnaround. Can't get the bounce. Brown and Happ. And it's Brown who comes away with the rebound. Look at Happ on the floor, sprinting across to set the screen. It's always fun to watch Wisconsin. It's easy to follow the ball, but keep your eye on the activity of Hayes and Happ without the ball. That's what's so impressive. And it's poked away. Indecision by Brown's going to turn into transition for Penn State, and a foul is going to send Samuel to the line for 2.
That was a pretty ugly turnover from Vito Brown. Didn't want to grab it. You're better off grabbing it and getting called for a double dribble than just leaving it free.
Second foul on Showalter. And subs coming in for Greg Gard as Terrence Samuel will shoot the free throws. 72% free throw shooter this year. And his minutes starting to rise. So Hill enters with Trice and Ilikainen. Wisconsin has not hit a field goal in the last 4.5 minutes. Samuel, the junior from Brooklyn, at 6 points, 3 assists against Purdue. And he hits the free throw, and it gets Penn State within a pair. Under 5 minutes to go in the first half. Hayes and Happ on the floor with the 3 reserves.
Happ has Peyton Banks on him at 6'6". That should be a pretty good mismatch.
Shot clock down to 5. Trice pull it up, and Trice can't get it to go. Ilikainen pops it in like a volleyball tap. Alex Ilikainen scores. First basket for Wisconsin in a while. On the answer, no. Banks too strong with the 3. Hayes pulls down the board, and he'll run the show.
Frustrating sequence for Penn State. You have a great defensive possession, get the clock all the way down, you get the shot that you want, and they tip it in anyway.
Penn State had been a top 5 defensive team in the conference until their last 2 games.
Nice job by Terrence Samuel cutting off Nigel Hayes' driving lanes, but now he lost him.
And Hayes was going to draw the foul. Mike Watkins second. So Alex Ilikainen, some early minutes tonight. A little volleyball tap and the hoop from Ilikainen. And Wisconsin starting to stretch the lead. Free throws coming when we come back.
Better teams and you're playing true road games. But definitely at the top of their list, the first thing Pat Chambers said to us is they need to get Shep Garner going, and that's what they've got. So it's good for tonight, but it's also good for the short-term future to get his confidence back as a shooter.
There you see his numbers tonight. Garner has 2 fouls, so we've probably seen the last of him in this half. Going into the timeout, Hayes fouled shooting. 2 free throws, 1 out of 2 for Nigel Hayes. Wisconsin up 5. Carr runs the point. Lamar Stevens is fouled. And they're going to have an offensive foul on the screen. They're going to get Reeves. Second foul on Reeves now. He joins Watkins, who has 2 fouls, and Garner with 2 fouls.
That's been a point of emphasis all season on those screens. You got to really be stationary. You can't lean. You can't stick out that chicken wing. You got to be set.
Got to bring Nazir Bostic into the game. So you have 3 players from the same high school on the floor together for Penn State as Happ is fouled.
You also have to keep your hands off the dribbler.
It's going to be number 2 on Julian Moore. So just like that said, Wisconsin's relentless nature offensively has now put Penn State into some foul trouble.
Right, and it's the kind of thing that just accumulates slowly and steadily over the course of a game. How many times have we seen Wisconsin games where an opponent, an undermanned, a lower-ranked opponent, hangs around for a while? You get to those last 10 minutes, and all these factors start to pile up against you. And that's where Wisconsin is very comfortable playing close games.
Well, Greg Gard couldn't have asked for anything more than to have the 2 big men for Penn State sitting. Yikes, into the neck from Ethan Happ. It's 1 out of 2.
That was almost a Joakim Noah.
State Farm halftime report coming your way. Under 3.5 to go in this first half. Dave Reps and Sean Morris standing by in our Chicago studios. And the 3-pointer is up by Banks. He has a pure stroke. And a big bucket for Penn State, just trying to hang in there for the last 3 minutes of this first half. Chambers rolling the dice a little bit here with Shep Garner on the floor with 2 fouls.
And I was in that 2-3 zone, try to limit the foul trouble.
Oh, but no look from Hayes.
That's
Happ on the other end.
That's why they don't play it that often. They only play zone about 12% of the time.
Back-to-back threes. Yes, sir. Peyton Banks delivers 2 long-range missiles. 30-second timeout. And a 30-second timeout for Greg Gard and Wisconsin.
Erase a lot of wayward drives, and the way that Penn State is shooting the ball tonight, they are hanging right with these Wisconsin Badgers. 6 for 10 from behind the arc, and this is the team with the lowest field goal percentage in the Big Ten. So certainly not what Wisconsin expected coming in.
Peyton Banks with 2 big deliveries for the Nittany Lions. Under 2.5 to go in this first half. Hayes kicks it. Hill. And Hill with a little mid-range. Comes up short again. It's his second jump shot short, but Happ comes away with a rebound. Offensive board and a second chance.
That's the downside of a smaller lineup. Don't rebound as effectively.
Happ gives it up. Koenig comes up short. Samuel with the board. Good work by Penn State defensively.
The way Koenig is going, you're just surprised when he misses.
Stevens working on Happ.
Great
Can't
move.
get it to go, and Happ right there for the board.
Again, Brian, defense without fouling.
Tay Stevens on a couple of occasions has had pretty takes to the basket, just hasn't quite finished. Those will start falling as he continues in his career. Hayes backing down Stevens, mismatch, and a foul. Hayes goes to the line for 2. So as Penn State goes small, Wisconsin's starting to exploit them inside.
Wisconsin has always over the years done such a good job figuring out the mismatch, clear foul inside, and when you're trying to guard a bigger man in there, you almost have no choice. You know, the staple of this program, you look at Ethan Happ, we talked about this at the top, is the way that they've developed players. Frank Kaminsky averaged, what, like 3 minutes a game as a sophomore. By the time he left, he was the best player in college basketball. Year after year, Bo Ryan and now Greg Gard, outstanding at identifying players who may not be McDonald's All-Americans coming out of high school, but can see the potential for development. And then you come here for a year, 2 years, you take a red shirt like Ethan Happ. It's remarkable how much they improve. I don't know another program in the country that's as good in that area as Wisconsin is, and there's yet another offensive rebound.
And it was Happ who kept it alive. Testing a very good defensive team in Penn State. There are a lot of extra possessions down here. Hayes backing down Carr, who holds his own. And now Carr, the point guard, ready to run a little bit. Samuel hits the jumper. That was an excellent sequence for Penn State. The 6'3" Tony Carr holding his own against Nigel Hayes at 6'8". Turns it into offense on the other end. 1-point game. Under a minute to go in the first half. Happ gets a double team. Fires one across. Hill passed it up. 10 on the shot clock. Hayes to Koenig now. Shot clock at 5. Koenig lets it go. Long two is good for Bronson Koenig. A bailout by the point guard.
Like I said, you're surprised when he misses. He has got it going.
Timeout. Patrick Chambers in Penn State. About a 4.5-second difference between shot clock and game clock. Put the ball in Koenig's hands. Hit a big one against Minnesota. Deliver time report coming your way. Dave Repson, Sean Morris. Standing by in our BTN studios in Chicago. 3-point Wisconsin lead. Penn State has managed to hang around in this game despite foul trouble. 4.5 seconds separating shot clock and game clock. Garner will set the offense in motion. Koenig checks Garner down. Little step back. And Garner can't get it to go. Happ with the board. Plenty of time now. Koenig with the ball in his hands. 2 to 1. Koenig. Oh, in and out it goes. And that's how the first half comes to an end. Well, if you're Wisconsin, some turnovers, uncharacteristic, 5 of them. Penn State with 9 turnovers, but able to work around some foul trouble. We got a 3-point game as we hit halftime. State Farm halftime report coming your way. We'll check in with David and Sean right after this. First half in the books. Patrick Chambers and the Badgers. Brian Anderson with Seth Davis. And Seth, you look at that first half, it felt like Penn State could have been run out of the gym there. They were down 10 points at 18-8. How'd they get back in?
Well, first of all, they took care of the basketball. They committed 8 turnovers in the first 8 minutes of the game, only won the rest of the way. But it's their 3-point shooting, really, to me, is the story of the first half. They came in shooting 32% from 3-point range in Big Ten play, but they were 6 for 10 from behind the arc. That was big. I will say this, though. The story of the second half is going to be the foul situation. Penn State has 5 players, including 4 starters, have 2 fouls. Wisconsin shot 16 free throws in the first half to Penn State's 4. So as those fouls start to accumulate, Pat Chambers is going to have to manage the substitutions, and Wisconsin continues to press their advantage on the foul line. So if Wisconsin is going to win, I think they're going to do it from the foul line.
Saw the Auto Owners game leaders with Koenig and Shep Garner. Garner's one of those in foul trouble with 2. And coming out of the halftime break, it is Ethan Happ who scores. Happ very quiet in the first half. Scored just 7 points, now with 9. Did have 6 rebounds. Got off to a terrific start to the game. And Stevens comes up short. Hayes with the rebound. So our halftime score set was 36-33, right? The last time Penn State beat Wisconsin was in 2011, and the final in that game was 36-33. That was in the quarterfinals of the Big Ten tournament. Been a long time since Penn State has beaten the Badgers, and even longer since they've beaten the Badgers here in Madison, as Happ wrestles his way inside, and an easy bucket at the rim for Ethan Happ, who scored the first 2, and Pat Chambers wants a timeout. Just like that, a 3-point halftime lead is quickly 7 for Bucky. Started the game 1 for 5, but he's made his last 3 now going back into the first half. And it's easy as it gets with Happ with such great footwork. Works himself inside like that. Ethan Happ now with 11 points, 4 of 8 shooting. He's hit 3 of 6 from the free throw line. Penn State ball. Chambers with a quick timeout to try to reorganize, with Wisconsin scoring the first 2. Banks hit a couple of big 3-pointers late in the first half. That's an air ball. And Wisconsin on the move here. Koenig will set it up. Original starting 5 on the floor. They've started all 20 games for Wisconsin. The Badgers coming in at 16-3. Showalter for 3. Knocks it down.
Not much defensive resistance there. Badgers. He had all day to make that shot.
Shep Garner. Now guarded by Brown. Long-range three-pointer. His first miss of the game. That was a tough 3. Second chance, though, for Penn State. The Badgers had missed 6 consecutive three-pointers before that Showalter make. Started the game 4 of 6 from behind the arc. Missed 6 in a row. And then Showalter hits the first try of the second half. Good look inside. Little jump hook by Tony Carr. Really going to let him play through the inexperience. A guy that gets to the line. He averages just shy of 4 free throws a game. He's been up over 5 free throw attempts per game. He's not afraid to go to the basket. And a freshman who is emerging as a very good player in this league already. In the corner. Koenig for 3. Set up by Hayes.
You see there where Nigel Hayes leads his team in assists. Saw the mismatch with Carr on his back, but still made the good decision. And that's a bad decision and an easy bucket for Ethan Happ. Oh, nice chase down
from behind and a foul.
A little casual going in there with the ball. Josh
Reeves running the floor. Good effort there by Reeves, the sophomore. He's going to send Happ to the line.
Just kind of put 2 hands on the ball. He got fouled, but
so
right
Reeves
to him. I think he was so surprised they threw the ball right in his hands.
Picks up his 3rd foul, and he'll head to the bench. And Happ at the free throw line. He's at 3 of 6. Not good.
He should be deducted a point if he missed a free throw that much. Zach Showalter had time to write a novel before he shot that ball. I think I was closer to him than any of the Penn State defenders.
Yeah, 1 out of 2 for Happ.
At some point in late March, Ethan Happ's going to have to make some key free throws. Yep. And whatever the numbers say, if you're not confident in that situation, when the pressure gets really on.
Boy, Hayes flying high for the board. 1 and done for Penn State. Free throw discrepancy is significant.
We talk about Ethan Happ's, lack of confidence oftentimes in the past. That's the one thing he lacks. He wasn't a huge recruit out of high school. And he can have a bad game, get down on himself. He doesn't have that swag. But he's not the kind of guy who's going to get amnesia on the free throw line.
Second opportunity here for Wisconsin on the cut. Hayes spins, runs into traffic, gives it to Happ, who finishes.
That's just a great 2-man game. Nigel Hayes says, such great court awareness. He's a point power forward. You get him in the short corner, that's like a point guard being at the top of the key.
Tony Carr hits a 3.
Threes are falling.
Boy, I mean, Penn State, the 3-point buckets have kept them in it. They've hit 7 in this game. 7 out of 12 from behind the arc for Penn State. 2-man game, Koenig and Happ. Now Koenig gives it up. Shot clock down to 9. Vito Brown will pull it. Vito Brown hits it.
That was a contested shot.
Garner with a bullet pass. And on the take, up and under, no good. Banks. There's Happ. Picks it over to Koenig. Hayes running the floor. Koenig on the move, and an offensive foul going the other way. Penn State ball when we come back.
A little bit out of control there for Bronson Koenig, but good work in the corner. A little 2-man game. Give, go, back to him. Easy assist. Give it to Happ.
Earlier today said it was one of those rare player-coach teams, meaning the players ran the show. The coaching staff, Bo Ryan, realized these players knew the system so well, and oftentimes they would call the plays, they would organize their thoughts during timeouts, and looking forward to that. Following the game, narrated by Matt LePage, radio play-by-play voice of the Wisconsin Badgers. Another turnover for Penn State. Wisconsin has the hammer down in this second half. 52-38. It was a 3-point game at the half. Showalter from distance. Brown keeps it alive, finds Koenig. What a play by Brown. Now Koenig finds Hayes, who passes it up on the move. Ball's moving well. And an eternity on defense again for Penn State. The second chance opportunities for Wisconsin. Brown now working inside. Showalter on the move. Showalter gives it to Hayes, and it is blocked, but a foul. Tony Carr going right at Nigel Hayes. But a foul, and Hayes will shoot a pair.
Well, offensive rebounds has been a problem for Penn State all night. Wisconsin now has 10 for the game. And just excellent patience in the delivery to Nigel Hayes. And also Wisconsin's defense is definitely tightened up here in the second half. Penn State shot 52% in the first, and they start off 2 for 7 and another couple of turnovers. And just like that, you're down 14. Of course, when you play Wisconsin, being down 14 is like being down 18 or 19 against a lot of other teams, because you're not going to have as many possessions.
Well, Pat Chambers looking for some firepower as Peyton Banks checks in. Hayes hits the first. And the high arcing free throw, no good. Another opportunity. Brown comes down with the offensive board. And a foul. Lamar Stevens fouls Vito Brown.
That's their 11th offensive rebound. To Penn State's 2.
Third foul on Lamar Stevens.
And as I said, at the start of the second half, the fouls start piling up. So now Pat Chambers has to take guys out of the game that he needs in the game. This is what Wisconsin does to you. They crush your will.
Stevens will sit with 3. Davis Zemgulis, sophomore from Lithuania, checks in. Has not played much, but he did get some minutes against Purdue. He will have Brown here. Here's the switch. Koenig. And Hill bails him out. Plenty of time on the shot clock. Koenig wants it, and we'll get it organized.
See the patience, the smart decisions. Koenig got trapped down there. Didn't throw it away, knew help was coming.
Koenig with 3 on the shot clock, scores. The scoop high off the window.
He is a scoring machine.
Bronson Koenig's putting together a night. 15 points now. Inside, Watkins is fouled. Good take to the basket by Watkins. He'll shoot a pair.
He is feeling it, man. Late shot clock, he gets the screen, 2 defenders.
Well, the early release of the basketball as well to shoot it over high off the glass of the 6'6" Zemgulis.
He's having some kind of senior year, Bronson Koenig.
Watkins can't hit the first.
And unlike a lot of the Badgers, Bronson Koenig got a lot of hype coming out of high school. An in-state kid, of course, from La Crosse, Wisconsin, the pride of Ho-Chunk Nation.
He had a great story. That was a beautiful piece you wrote in Sports Illustrated on Bronson Koenig.
Well, you know, he told me he went down, he grew up a North Carolina fan. Like the Badgers, obviously, but loved Michael Jordan like any other sentient human being. And he went down there and he had a great visit. And he worked out with the team, and then he went in and he took a shower in the coach's locker room. He said it was the nicest shower he'd ever been to. I don't know if it's like rose petals on the floor in the showers in North Carolina, but just couldn't leave home. And he's had one of the great careers in the great program.
Hill on the move. Can't get that one to go. Watkins pulls down the board. Shep Garner, who hit 3 threes in the first half. Guarded by Showalter. Garner shakes him, and Garner travels. Another turnover for Penn State. That is their 12th.
And this is where, you know, Pat Chambers talks about their competitiveness and their competitive spirit. I want to see Penn State fight till the end here. I don't think they can get this done. You're down 16, 13 to go. But you can still fight.
Showalter tried to go with the left-hand reverse. Well, he is some kind of explosive. Now back comes Carr up top. Watkins thought he was fouled. Garner for 3 after the offensive board. He fires up an air ball. Penn State looking for a foul on the lob.
I think they may have a case. Just a tough play to make there. Oh, goodness. Right on the arm.
Wow, yikes.
That's a miss.
That was going to be a thunder jam by Watkins. It was flying high.
I got a feeling that clip's going to be emailed to Rick Boyages in a couple hours, but
I think you're right.
It happens. And I say there's an important distinction to be made between an incorrect call and a bad call. If referee's not in position, they miss.
Charlie Thomas picks up his dribble, looking for help. Shot clock at 6. Hayes caught in the corner, fires one across. Ball's popping now. Trice for 3.
And shot the first time. He kind of double clutched. Dimitri Trice, the talented freshman.
Here's Carr. Watkins the board. Lost the handle. Carr got it back. And what do we have here? A foul. There'll be a foul on Thomas.
That's the play Mike Watkins has to make. He was in great position. He got the offensive rebound, but didn't grab it.
Watkins is one of those guys to keep an eye on. He did not play organized basketball until his sophomore year of high school. So that's 5 years we're talking about. And still learning the game, still learning the angles, the speed of the game. He has the physical tools. He's working on Thomas here. Lost the handle. And a little jump hook. No. Follow. Good. So Reeves in there with a follow putback. Penn State trying to show a little life here. Down 14. Trice gives it Thomas. Oh, looking for the thunder jam. Another offensive board. Penn State closed that down quickly. Feels like Wisconsin's getting multiple possessions per trip down the floor. Hayes, 3 on the shot clock. Little step back, too strong. And there's Watkins with the rebound. Crowd is calm, confident. The sellout crowd of over 17,000. Carr steps on the baseline. That'll take us to a timeout. And Wisconsin in control.
And they lose here about once every Halley's Comet. So if I were a Wisconsin fan of this building, I'd feel pretty confident too. Greg Gard has lots of reason to smile.
I enlisted in the Army in 2000.
Here tonight, Marquette, about an hour and a half from the Kohl Center in Milwaukee, beat Villanova tonight. That one just ended a few moments ago, and the Mountaineers of West Virginia roll over Kansas.
Tell you what, by the end of the night, Wisconsin could be #1 in the country. All these teams losing. UCLA went down. You know who's sitting right there is Gonzaga.
Gonzaga, undefeated.
This is the first time, I didn't even know this until this happened, but Mark Few's team has never gone undefeated in the non-conference. And so they're at a point where they've never been under Mark Few, and they have a very real chance to go into Selection Sunday undefeated, although I think Wisconsin fans know better than most how hard it is to go all the way through undefeated.
Oh, my goodness. Khalil Iverson on the lob of the inbounds. That's one you're going to see all night.
That was emphatic.
Wow. Talk about jetpacks. Iverson up there in the rare air. Working inside to Happ now, and Happ travels. Let's get back into that conversation, because as we take a look at this lob from Koenig, that's from a standing jump by Khalil Iverson.
I'll tell you what, Terrence Samuel had his eye on the man, but completely wasn't looking at the ball. Doesn't do you much good.
What is the standing vertical for Khalil Iverson right there?
Higher than Terrence Samuel's on that play.
That's approaching 40, I'm guessing.
Ball you man.
And Iverson with the pick right there. Turnover. Hayes with a flip up ahead. Trice scores.
There's a couple of bench players making plays for the Badgers. And this thing is officially busted wide open.
3-point game at the half. Wisconsin now up 18. Biggest lead of the night. Banks bangs one off the glass, and Happ wrestles it free. Happ now with 7 boards. Had it poked away by Garner. Look at Happ on the floor. Man, how many do that? And Koenig is fouled on the floor. Think about all the big men in collegiate basketball right now. As you see the steal, and Hayes with the flip up ahead. Wisconsin bringing the effort as Ethan Happ goes to the floor to keep the possession. 17 points off turnovers. A big story tonight. Wisconsin getting to the free throw line. And the turnovers, and now Trice pokes that one free. Here's Iverson for three.
Give them enough bites at the apple. Pretty soon you got no apple left. Too much, too good.
Trice and Iverson thriving with this group on the floor with the big three, Koenig, Hayes, and Happ. Reeves, the lefty, fires the three.
And now you see what happens when those threes aren't going down.
And Banks misses 2 missed threes, but a third opportunity for the Nittany Lions. Banks will fire another one, and he hits. Timeout on the floor. So Wisconsin starting to show their dominance. Ball on the floor. Wisconsin coming up with all the 50-50 balls. Iverson hits a three. Badgers up big by 18. Basketball on BTN in partnership with Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Push button, get mortgage. And brought to you in part by State Farm. Talk to an agent today at 800-STATE-FARM. Brian Anderson with Seth Davis. Badgers, Nittany Lions from the Kohl Center in Madison. And a three-point game at the half. Wisconsin has opened it up here. Up 18 with the ball, under 8 to go in this one. Wisconsin trying to match Maryland's win over Rutgers earlier tonight. Go to 6-1 in conference play. And 17-3 overall. Badgers come in 15th in the nation. There's 7 on the shot clock. Koenig hits a three. He's having a great night. Koenig now with 18. He has hit 4 3-pointers tonight. He's dished out a couple. Has a couple of rebounds. Tony Carr is fouled. 2 shots coming for the freshman point guard. Well, Seth, you're looking at the top 4 in the Big Ten as it stands right now. Maryland improving to 6-1. Top 4 key buys you that first round bye in the Big Ten tournament.
How about the Northwestern Wildcats at 5-2? They're what, 16-4, I want to say, on the season. They lost on the last-second bucket at Butler and Hinkle Fieldhouse. They lost to Notre Dame, a very good team, by 4 points in Brooklyn. And they're very much in position for their first-ever NCAA tournament bid. It's going to be one of the really big storylines the second half of the college basketball season, and we'll see how those kids handle it. The closer they get, the harder it's going to be to finish it. But they've banked a lot of house money to this point, and I think they're going to do it.
Well, for Northwestern, 7 of their final 11 games in conference play will be at home at Welsh Ryan. So they'll have the advantage on the home schedule. They beat Ohio State for the first time since '77 as Brown hits one off the window. And isn't it interesting, we just mentioned the Marquette win over Villanova, beating the #1 team in the nation. Marquette did at home in Milwaukee. And we could have a coming together of a couple of Coach K disciples in Steve Wojciechowski and Chris Collins. Neither have been to the tournament as a head coach. That win by Marquette will certainly get them in a position if they take care of business. The rest of the way as Brown again scores it.
You know, the upside to playing in a league like the Big East with so many good teams is you have those opportunities. You know, you have the chance to get the #1 team in the country on your own home floor. And you know, getting back to Northwestern, I crack up when people say, well, you know, the only reason Northwestern has a chance is kind of a down year in the Big Ten. I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure the Big Ten has had down years between now and 1939.
Right.
I think there's a little bit more to it. You talk about 70+ years in a power conference without ever making the NCAA tournament. That takes some doing.
Well, it would be something, and it would be a great accomplishment. A little tangle up inside. I believe Trice and Samuel having to be tended to. Ted Valentine won't put the ball in play, like an imposed timeout as Stevens hits the jumper.
It was a tough loss tonight, by the way, for Michigan State. That's a team that, you know, I saw them up close in person 3 straight days in the Bahamas over Thanksgiving. And, you know, losing Miles Bridges when they did was kind of bad timing, but he's back now. And I just don't think that their guard play is at the level that it's been of the last few years. Certainly there's no Denzel Valentine on the perimeter.
Showalter to the line. Purdue winning on the road at East Lansing tonight. Purdue and Wisconsin, just records aside, looking like the 2 powers in the conference. Don't forget, Super Wednesday, you got Minnesota and Ohio State at 7 Eastern, and then Iowa at Illinois following that. Presented by Buffalo Wild Wings. You'll be heading to Champaign.
Yes, I got a chopper waiting outside.
Private Seth Davis helicopter.
Hold off to snow for a few hours.
Room for one. Banks with a 3. That is his 4th 3 of the game. 21-point Wisconsin lead. Badgers with the ball. Happ kicks it. And Trice will back it out. No great teams. It doesn't look like the dominant team is going to surface. Thought maybe UCLA would emerge as that team. Early in the year, it looked like Duke was going to be that team as Wisconsin turns it over. Duke's having all kind of trouble now. Coach K is away from the team. A loss last night to NC State. I'm not sure where Duke is.
Well, you want to talk about a team that's snake bit. I mean, that team is snake bit. Set aside the whole Grayson Allen fiasco, which I think, frankly, speaks a lot worse of our media culture in today's day and age than anything Grayson Allen has done. I mean, his behavior certainly has been questionable at times, but he's like the Johnny Manziel. But that's the least of what Duke is going through with injuries and Mike Krzyzewski being out. And Emil Jefferson is back, but I don't think he's 100% by any stretch. And it's just put Jeff Capel in an impossible position, similar to what Mike Hopkins experienced at Syracuse when Jim Boeheim was out last year. And Jim Boeheim came back. They had a lot of losses and still ended up in the Final Four. So, and they don't have a point guard. That's really Duke's biggest problem. They don't have a point guard.
Happ travels. Turns it over. Ted Valentine got questioned by the Wisconsin bench. So Teddy made sure that everybody on that bench saw the call. As if to say, I'll be making the calls here tonight.
I think we pretty much understand who's making the call.
Watkins banging inside with Happ.
Looks good, Teddy. If he lost a lot of weight, he's in shape.
And Happ's got the rebound.
And he loves it.
Koenig. Oh, nice. Beautiful. Little spin. Soft roll.
Hesitation.
20 for Koenig tonight on 8 of 13 shooting. And a foul. It's going to be on Watkins. Offensive foul.
Look at Koenig. Little hesitation and boom, he's gone. And the extension.
They put Watkins on skates. Just that little move.
I always have to quote Clark Kellogg one time. Every broadcast, Clark would say, pause him, park him, put him away. That's what he did. Paused him, he parked him, he put him away. He's had a great night.
It's a good night of work there. Might be it for Koenig tonight. 20 points, his 7th 20-point game of the season. That's a Koenig who delivered a couple of monster threes against Minnesota on the road in that overtime win, including what was eventually the game winner. Trice wide open. How about Happ finding it midair? Showalter the putback. No. And Stevens pulls down the board. Foul on Showalter. And free throws coming for Penn State. Under 4 to go. Coming to the finish line. All Badgers in the second half tonight. He's hit 4 threes. 2 in the first half. He's hit 2 in the second half. The sharp shooter from Orange, California, the junior, one of the few upperclassmen. No seniors for Penn State, and nearly half of their points this year coming from freshmen. A program on the rise. Greg Gard and Ted Valentine with a mid-range volume discussion as Stevens hits a free throw. Wisconsin has not lost here at the Kohl Center since a January 9th game last year against Maryland. Been over a calendar year. Melo Trimble hit a 3 at the buzzer, you might remember, in that early January game last season. So 18 in a row at the Kohl Center. Penn State has not won here in Madison since '95. The 18 losses for them. Vito Brown has found the range with that bum right knee. Now a season high for Vito Brown. He has 16. He is at 6 of 8 from the field.
Greg Gard told us when he went down, he thought he was going to be hurt for a while. And it was kind of a late clearance for that Minnesota game. And he certainly hasn't looked any hobbled on it tonight.
Got hurt in the Michigan game. Didn't practice all week last week. Played sparingly against Minnesota. But he's looked good tonight, especially here in the second half.
This Wisconsin team, Brian, just firing on all cylinders. They're confident, they're poised, they're intelligent, they have great chemistry. They've got post-scoring, post-passing, perimeter shooting. And in the second half tonight, they've been outstanding on the defensive end.
You know, one thing about Wisconsin, and you always think about this going into a postseason scenario, they have played very few close games. They've played only 4 games where they have been decided by 10 or fewer points, right? So they finished in the top 4, 16 straight years. Look like they're on the way again, as Brown, with a season high, will exit with half.
And as I said earlier, Brian, they basically have had the same lineup, the same roles for 2 years. So there's nothing these guys haven't seen. Some of them have played in a national championship game. And it's just hilarious to me, you know. Talked to Greg Gard earlier today, and you say, well, what do you need to get better at? He said, well, we need more consistency. I said, consistency? The last thing Wisconsin needs more of is consistency, but obviously you want to keep developing as the season goes on, but that is the culture here. They win with culture as much as any program in the country.
What a great job Greg Gard has done after taking over for Bo Ryan. Yeah, Brevin Pritzel, Aaron Maish getting a little run here as we wind it down. Don't forget Big Ten Elite coming up. A recap of the 2015 Wisconsin Badgers season. The runner-up team, one of the great Big Ten teams. And they got a couple of pros, a couple of first-rounders on that team, and Sam Decker and Frank Kaminsky. Sam Decker has found it with the Houston Rockets. Had a 30-point game the other night. Two and a half to go in this one. Next up for Penn State, they'll be home against Illinois this Saturday, and then they go on the road to face Indiana. And that's going the other way, offensive foul.
And that's an important game for Penn State. You get Illinois at home, that team's been struggling. You got to win that game. You want to have some good vibrations moving forward. Let's just see what they have coming up. You got Rutgers at home, Illinois at home.
Yeah, they have
Illinois. Those are winnable games, you know, and as much hope and optimism as you can have for Penn State because of this freshman class. A game like tonight really underscores how far you have to go. And it's not easy to recruit to Penn State as a basketball coach, I can tell you that.
Where are you at with Indiana right now with OG Anunoby's news? The knee going to take him out the rest of the season. They're going to have to change what they do a little bit.
Yeah, well, you know, they were already kind of suspect on the defensive end. And you lose, you know, one of the top 3 or 4 defenders in the Big Ten. It's only going to make that problem a whole lot worse. So that's a real unfortunate development for Indiana. You wonder if he'll ever be back at Indiana. No, projected as a top draft pick. So I don't know if we're going to see him in an Indiana uniform again.
Thomas will go to the line. A couple of free throws coming for the sophomore. These are big minutes here for guys like Charlie Thomas and Trice. As Greg Gard tries to deepen his rotation. Vito Brown scare with the knee. As Van Vliet will check in now. The 7-footer. But you look at Vito Brown, and there was a moment there where you're thinking this great unit that you never have to even think about. You just write him in the starting lineup. Same 5 for all 20. And you lose one of those starters, though. And Wisconsin suddenly has depth issues. I think that was a bit of a concern for Greg Gard. The free throw story is going to be there, and I think that is going to be a big story to watch, especially as you get into the close and late games and into the postseason games.
You wonder about the free throws, and then you just wonder about running into some of these top teams from other leagues who can just out-talent them. I mean, Wisconsin definitely has talent. I don't mean to diminish it, but so these other teams we're talking about, the Villanova, Kentucky, Arizona, UCLA, a lot of dudes.
Stevens hits the first free throw. Badgers will head to Madison Square Garden Saturday. They've got Rutgers on the road. And then next week, home against Illinois, home against Indiana. And that'll be one to watch on network television. And we'll see how Indiana will go to work without Anunoby. Of course, Wisconsin beating Indiana on the road as Price is fouled on the three-point try.
Penn State fouls on number 23, Josh Reeves, is 4th, the team's 9th. At the line for the Badgers, Dimitri Trice.
Trice, true freshman. And a long night for Patrick Chambers, and Penn State had it going a little bit in Big Ten play. Penn State with back-to-back wins against Michigan State at the Palestra in Philadelphia, and then beating Minnesota, followed up with a win over Minnesota. James Blackman hit that game winner. So you're looking at a possible swing that could very easily have been 5-1 in conference play at that point. And now they're staring at 3 consecutive losses. Back-to-back blowout losses on the road against Purdue and Wisconsin. Tough road in the Big Ten.
See some of the frustration there. Terrence Samuel.
Trice with the 3 free throws.
If you're Pat Chambers, you really want to just try to keep your guys together, keep working, stay focused on the process.
TJ Schlunt checks in. Schlunt, Maish, Andy Van Vliet, Pritzel on the floor together. Villakanen. Cherished minutes for guys that don't get a lot of activity. Been fun, Seth. Always enjoy being with you. Next time,
appreciate you, man. See you at the seminar.
We will hook you up for the NCAA tournament. That is going to be a highlight of the year on the basketball schedule. Always look forward to that.
Getting to that time of year, and the Super Bowl's coming up. As soon as the Super Bowl's over, it's all about college hoops. So enjoy the game, America, and join us for the final stretch. It's going to be a blast.
Van Vliet with the block. Here comes Schlunt, gives it up. Unselfish. And this crowd here just begging for one of these guys to get on the board. As Matt Ferris will check in. We'll see you back on BTN tomorrow, heading to Champaign.
And to see the Iowa Hawkeyes. Talking about young team, even younger than Penn State, starting 4 freshmen around the Big Ten's leading scorer, Peter Jock.
I tell you, I love Tyler Cook. He is a force to be reckoned with. Wind it down. The Badgers remain undefeated at home. They'll go to 17-3 and 6-1 in Big Ten play as Gard and Chambers come together with a handshake. Wisconsin 82, Penn State 55. And now 18 straight wins for Wisconsin at the Kohl Center, and 18 consecutive over Penn State as well. There you see the updated standings with Maryland and Wisconsin, each with 6 wins.